Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Building Trust with Water Clarity. We've got some exciting insights tailored specifically for pool professionals. Pentair Pool wants you to be the pool hero, standing out by delivering clean, clear pool water to your clients that they can truly see and feel. I'm joined today by Jan Morvan, product line leader for smart water quality at Pentair Pool, who is dedicated to helping the world safely and sustainably enjoy water, life's most essential resource. Jan will be poolside with Jesse Steenstra, co-owner of Pool Care Specialists. Jesse and his team manage over 800 pools a week in the Florida area. Together, they'll walk us through how to build trust with customers by delivering the water clarity they expect. They'll share practical insights and show how key Pentair products make it easier than ever to keep pools cleaner, clearer, and more enjoyable.
Thank you, Scott, for the introduction. Hey, everyone. Great to have you join us today. We're actually here live in Temecula at one of our big Pentair University. So it's, again, very excited to be with you. So today, Jesse, Kevin, and I, we're very excited to really dig into what's keeping pool water perfectly clean and clear. And we're going to cover filtration and salt chlorine generators. Those are the systems that not only make pool look great, but also give homeowners peace of mind season after season. So our goal today is simple. We want to help you stand out by delivering perfect water that your clients can see and feel. So this is what we'll be walking through today. First, why water quality is such a powerful trust builder. We'll go over the technologies that make achieving that clarity easier than ever. And then we'll also share some real-world insights from pros like Jesse, who's mastered that formula. And of course, we'll wrap it up with live Q&A. So as we go, feel free to drop your questions into the chat anytime.
Great. Thank you, Jan. Now let's step outside with Jan poolside as he walks us through why water quality matters and how clean, clear water supports both pool health and customer trust.
Hey, good morning, Jesse.
Hey, Jan, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah, thanks for allowing us to stop by. Looks like you've been busy.
Been very busy, actually. Yeah. As you can see, it's we got lovely weather here. We got a lot of.
Not today though.
No.
A little cloudy, a little windy. Doesn't make your job easier, right?
No, definitely not. Especially with those trees. Been here a while trying to clear this thing up. I'm trying to get it cleaned up. So.
Yeah. So gorgeous pool. Again,
yes.
Wonderful to be here. Again, thank you everyone for joining in, and what a beautiful day to be in Florida, except it's a little cloudy, a little windy, but look at this gorgeous pool. We're very lucky to be with you, Jesse, and frankly, this is my favorite place because everything we do, everything that we innovate for, everything that we obsess over is really about perfect water. Water that is clear, safe, reliable, stable, and water that really people can trust. And for us at Pentair, perfect water is not just an aspiration, it's really an obsession. And that obsession is really the reason why we're here today, to talk about water quality. We're here to explore how smarter technologies, better insight, more connected solutions can shape a future where the water quality is never left to chance. And I think that's what it's all about, and that's how it's helping your business. Water quality is really the personality of the pool, right? It's clarity, the balance, the health, the safety, all of that to deliver an amazing experience to our customers. And at the end of the day, it's the sparkle that catches, the sun. It's the silky feel that invites you in. It's the invisible harmony of the pH and the alkalinity and all that to make the swimmers, feel safe. So I think at the end of the day, it's really an orchestra of all those different elements of chemistries. And we want the water to look brilliant, to stay safe, to be luxurious, to be a reflection of your job. And you, Jesse, you're kind of the conductor of this symphony, right, of chemistries.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Water quality is the foundation of our business. That's what we sell. We sell peace of mind. We sell comfort. We sell predictability. There's a lot of elements that go into our job that not a lot of people recognize. It's all invisible, like you said. It's a hidden harmony. Our big selling points, big points that we try to bring to our clients is reliability. We want to make sure that we maintain the water quality all the time. So that way they know anytime they want to get in, their pool is ready. It's safe. They don't have to worry about anything on that front. Not to mention the fact that we want it to look pretty. We want it to be clean and clear, so that way everybody gets to enjoy the beautiful art piece like this pool you see here all the time. We don't want it to be dirty. And that's really what we do.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's really a reflection of your craftsmanship or the quality of your work and, you know, your signature in some sort, right?
And entirely. We go to great lengths to make sure that we provide the best quality water that we can for our clients as often as possible. I mean, today is a perfect example. Last night, rained like crazy, got tons of leaves in. We were out here first thing in the morning, 4 guys out cleaning this pool up, and you can see it's still not clear yet. It's a little bit cleaner, but with the power of filtration and sanitization and all the elements we're going to talk about today, it won't be long before it's crystal clear and looking like an art piece again.
Yeah, we can't control all the elements. Obviously, we have a lot of winds today. It's been a challenge to keep up with all the debris, but at the end of the day, yeah, we can try to help with our technology, right? Sure. To try to prevent it as much as possible, to help you manage it, and to try to provide this peace of mind. But not always easy like today.
Not always easy, but we have to work with what we got.
Yes, exactly. So this is a salt pool,
correct?
Right? So, and you do a lot of salt pools?
Yes, I would say predominantly our clients are 90% salt
okay,
pools.
Great.
Yeah, with
automation. Music to my ear.
Yes, yes, lots of Pentair salt systems out there.
Yes, based on the feedback that we received from people like yourself and many others in terms of serviceability, is to design a product that was going to be a lot more serviceable, modular, flexible, and introduce a lot more features in terms of troubleshooting and diagnostics. As you remember, the old product, the iChlor and IntelliChlor that this product is replacing, one of the issues we're having is something was wrong with the electronics. You had to replace the entire cell. So what we've done is now we build this product with modularity in mind, and this whole electronic piece is now removable. Just by removing the clip, you can see how simple it was. And now if something is wrong with the electronics, that can be replaced. You don't have to replace the entire cell. The other benefit of having the cord out of the way, it makes it a lot easier for the salt cell to be clean. Because now you can handle it by itself. And by the way, speaking of cleaning, we also include that acid wash stand right into the box.
Well,
so that was another benefit, that we wanted to introduce.
Sure.
Again, based on feedback and some horror stories that we've heard about cleaning the salt cells. So this part is replaceable. That's a replacement part that you can get. The other element in terms of serviceability is the ability to replace that sensor module. You just have to remove those 6 screws, take it out, put it back in. As opposed to the IntelliChlor, I'm sure you're familiar that when you had to replace the flow switch, you had to take it out, strip the wire,
splice it together,
exactly,
put it back in, and you only get one replacement. That's
right.
Like you can get a multiple out of that one.
This one is much easier. It's actually 50% faster than replacing the flow switch. And obviously, we redesigned the entire sensor module. It's a 3-in-1 sensor module. So you get temperature, flow, and salinity. The salinity sensor is 98% as accurate as a lab-grade tester.
Wow.
So now when you actually get the ppm level of your salt on the LCD screen, you know with certainty that's the right level of salt into your pool. So those are some of the major improvements that we've done. Again, making it more serviceable, more accurate with the salinity sensor, and also more value in the box, by providing the acid wash stand. We now get 20 plus troubleshooting and diagnostic information on the LCD.
Well, that's very helpful.
Yes.
Very helpful for the service pros out there trying to figure out what's actually going on. Is it something automation? Is it something in the power center? Or is it something with the cells having onboard diagnostics?
That's
really
right.
Help speed that up.
Because the key thing is when you go into a site, you want to be able to be quick in and out, right?
Correct.
Not having to waste any time. So the information now that is provided helps you do that. Plus, you can also see that remotely if the salt cell is connected to automation.
Yeah, not having to guess at what the problem is and having to plug and chug parts is very helpful.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So going into all those great and wonderful features, I got a couple questions for you from the
Sure.
service pros perspective.
Uh-huh.
How difficult is it going to be to replace the old generation IntelliChlor cells with the new generation that you have here?
Yeah, no, very good question. That was a key element in the design of this product. We wanted to make sure it was 100% drop-in replacement. So if you look at the form factor of this unit, it's the exact same size than the old IntelliChlor. And then we also have a smaller unit that is matching exactly the size of the iChlor. So for markets like Florida, where you have a lot of the iChlor 30, it's a complete drop-in replacement.
Cool.
Even the dimension from center of union to the ground is exactly the same of 1.8 inches.
So it takes up the same footprint.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Exactly. So plumbing wise, there should be no friction of change. Even from an electrical standpoint, it is compatible with the old PC100. We haven't made any change there. It's the same connector.
Wow.
Or if you connect it to automation, we connect it the same way, using the same plug and then using the transformer within the automation.
Well, that makes it pretty easy.
Yeah.
What if I want to change from, let's just say, an iChlor 30 to the new LT or the new Plus 40? How would I do that?
Yeah, so if you're, let's say you're retrofitting from an IntelliChlor 15 or an IntelliChlor 20 to now an LT 25 or Plus 30, which is the shorter size, we also provide a spacer cell into the box. So again, there should be no friction in terms of replacing from old to new. That was very important for us, to preserve that ability.
Well, that's very helpful. Cuts down on the time, cuts down on the work, and makes it nice, like you said, with the drop-in replacement. Kind of after the fact, after the replacement's done, and trying to sell these things, what kind of warranties do they come with?
Yeah, so we have two families of product. We have the LT and then we have the Plus. So the LT was designed to give you 6,000 hours of chlorinating time. So for the LT products, we give a 2-year warranty. And then for the Plus, which is the Plus 30, the Plus 40, and then the Plus 60, they are designed to give you 10,000 hours of chlorinating time, which is what we had with the old IntelliChlor. So that gives you a 3-year warranty. So again, plenty of life and good warranty system that comes with this product.
Well, that's very encouraging. I'm looking more forward to seeing those in the field a lot more, because I think that's a massive step forward in the salt cell game.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, we're very excited about this product, and again, yeah, there's a lot of thought, a lot of design that went into it, and it's nice to now finally being able to see it, install in the field.
Yeah, because sanitization is very important. It's kind of one of the key cornerstones of water quality, is it not?
Absolutely, yeah. Sanitization is a key element. But beyond sanitization, we got to look at the other elements. So there's sanitization to make sure your water is safe. There's all sorts of chemistry that we have to keep, in balance to make sure that it's not affecting and protecting your equipment, right? You don't want to be scaling, or you don't want to be too aggressive on the equipment or the pool pad. And then you have filtration. So all those elements have got to be looked as a kind of a synergistic ecosystem to work together. So speaking of filtration, we have here the Plitco on this table.
Sure.
But looking at a different filtration system, we get sand, right? We get cartridge, we get DE. What's your experience with all those different types? What are your thoughts about how to select one versus the other?
Yeah, so I'd like to kind of pivot back to your point, though. They do work together. You have water chemistry, you have sanitization, and then you have filtration. Once you sanitize the water, you have to remove the particles in the water, and that's where the filtration comes in. To answer your question, there are the 3 main types, like you said: sand, cartridge, and DE. At the very top level, the very beginner, basic filter we have is our sand filters. Mm-hmm. And sand filters are really good for applications that aren't getting super dirty, that don't really need really high clarity. You're able to easily service them by backwashing them. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot that goes into them. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to have a higher level of quality of water and you still want to maintain that kind of quick and easy serviceability while also bringing in an element of water conservation, because there are some areas that you
Sure.
have water restrictions,
Yeah.
cartridges are very, very popular. With Pleatco now becoming part of Pentair and their new Ultra cartridges now coming standard in all of Pentair's filters, it really makes things a lot easier and it brings a lot higher water quality to the table off the bat, just out of the box when you have a brand new filter from Pentair.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a fantastic change. And there's a couple of key innovations on here with these elements that, you know, make them better. But overall, definitely very happy with the pivot on that.
Good, great to hear. Well, I'll tell you what, how about we now switch gear and we try to install this brand new unit on the pool pad?
Sure.
Does that sound like a good idea?
We'll see how easy it is to install after all.
All right, let's go.
All right.
All right, Jesse, so now we're gonna do the fun part here, switching the old IntelliChlor to the new one. But before we do so, can you just walk us through some of the safety precautions that we have to take on the pool pad when it comes to installing new equipment, and then also talking a little bit about filter safety?
Yeah. So when we're doing any work on the pool pad, we want to make sure that there is no water flow moving through the system, because pressurized water can be very dangerous if not stopped.
Yeah.
First thing we want to do before we service any part on the pool pad, especially the filter, is we want to kill the power at the main breaker and the main power source for all the pumps to ensure that you don't have any issues with it coming on while you're servicing it.
Mm-hmm.
So once that's done, you can come over here, and I'd like to kind of touch on the importance of filter safety first, because it kind of ties into our whole message here.
Mm-hmm.
When you're servicing the filter, you want to make sure, one, that the power is off like it is, so that way pumps do not come on. The next thing you want to make sure that you do is you open the air relief valve and you make sure that any excess air pressure is relieved. Once the air pressure has equalized, you can then take off the clamp or the ring, depending on what type of filter you have. Since we're not doing anything here, we can go ahead and leave it as it is. But an very important step for reassembly is when you're putting everything back together, you need to make sure that the locking ring or clamp is securely on, as tight as manufacturer recommends.
Correct.
Because if not, you can have a serious safety hazard.
Yeah, all about safety. Make sure you read the manual, the warning labels,
100%.
etc.
They're there for a reason, right?
Yes,
Not just
absolutely.
as firewood.
Yes.
So.
Okay, so now we're gonna replace this legacy IntelliChlor 60, right, with the new model.
Yeah.
So we'll undo this current unit, put the new one in, and then show you how easy it is to replace from the old to new. First, second, third. Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did, despite, all the wind. At the end of the day, clean, clear, and safe water means your filtration, sanitization, and chemistries are working together to achieve the perfect balance. As manufacturer and servicer, like Jesse, we're really dedicated to help homeowners avoid water quality problems or resolve them quickly, or even doing from afar via remote monitoring and automation. The longer-term vision here and the real opportunity is to transform water quality management into predictive care rather than reactive maintenance, so that we can optimize chemistry consumption, build complete trust in water quality, and achieve total peace of mind. So now let's go back in, out of the wind, and then we'll take some live Q&A.
Welcome back, Jan and Jesse, who are now joined by special guest Kevin Stewart. Kevin is a product manager supporting filtration for Pentair. We want to open the floor today to allow all of you attendees to ask Jan, Jesse, and Kevin questions around how to feel confident about water clarity to ensure you have the right tools to support what your customers really want, which is cleaner, clearer pool water for themselves and their guests. So please use the chat to ask your questions, and we will get started. This is a question for Jan about sanitizers. Many homeowners are curious but cautious about switching to salt. What's the simplest way you build trust in salt chlorine generation? And which top misconceptions do you address first, such as safety, feel of the water, ongoing costs, etc.?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Something that we've heard, many times coming from pool owners that have heard about soul systems, but they're not sure what to believe. I think the most effective approach to build trust with salt cells or salt pools is always the hands-on experience, being able to feel it for yourself. And if you have a friend that has a salt pool, or if you stay in a hotel that uses salt, that having that experience tends to be much better than any sales pitch or arguments that I can give you today. The water speaks for itself. We know that salt water typically, feels softer. You don't have that harsh chlorine smell typically, and also people say that it reminds them of like swimming in a well-maintained, resort pool. But beyond that, I'd like to really kind of highlight that salt chlorine generator is not something that is exotic or new technology. It's been used in residential pools since the 70s, and it's now the dominant sanitization method in the US. We know that over 70% of new in-ground pools now installed in the US use salt chlorine generators. But there are still some misconceptions, about salt pools. I think there's four big ones that I kind of like to cover because, again, we hear that quite often. A lot of people think that okay, salt pools is chlorine free. Well, we all know that it's a big misconception, and it's obviously not true. Salt system make the chlorine. They just do it on site, from the dissolved salt rather than having to add tablets or liquid, all that manual intervention of chlorine control. So some people are, disappointed when they hear that, but I think it's better to be very upfront about it and just reassuring them that now with the salt chlorine generator, they basically are getting a consistent self-regulating chlorine production. It's not an alternative to chlorine. So that's the first, misconception about it. The second one is people also like would be afraid that the water will taste or feel like you're in the ocean. Well, I want to again put things in perspective. When you're looking at the salt levels in a pool, you're maintaining at about 3,500 ppm, right? The new IntelliChlor, the ideal is like 3,600. Well, seawater is roughly 35,000 ppm, so it's 10 times saltier. And most people in a salt pool can't actually test the salt into the water. So, at that level, it's really barely detectable. The third misconception is some people think it's completely maintenance free. Well, it helps with the maintenance quite a bit, but it's not completely maintenance free. You still have to balance the pH, which we know with salt system, they tend to raise it, so you gotta keep an eye on that. You also have to monitor obviously your salt levels, and you also have to think about replacing the cell. I mean, typically you get about 5 to 7 years, depending on the use and the care. But the real value there is, again, the day-to-day effort is much lower. You don't have to manually add the chlorine to the pool. And also it gives you the ability, once you have a salt chlorine generator, to connect to an automation system for additional peace of mind. So that's the misconception number three. And then, in terms of the cost, some people think it's more expensive. It's actually the opposite because, again, depending on the location, the pool size, you will have to consume quite a bit of chlorine, and you could be spending hundreds of dollars, per month. Obviously, the sale, when you invest into a salt chlorine generator, you have the upfront cost, but the fact that you can keep it for like 5, 7 years, that really pays up over time, and that's another benefit. So I think keeping in mind, all those different misconceptions and being able to refute those really helps to understand, the value of salt chlorine generator.
Excellent. Now we have a question for Kevin. This question was, did I hear that Pleatco is now part of Pentair? When a customer asks why this cartridge, how do you get them up to speed on Pleatco quickly?
Yeah, so Plico is now part of the Pentair family. If you're trying to educate a customer on Plico, I would just focus on the three main features of it. So the first one would be our Pure Pleat technology. This ensures that our pleats are properly spaced and prevents any bunching. Second would be our point bonded filter media. So that has really good uniform dirt capture, allowing you to kind of extend your cleaning cycles. And then the last feature would be our free flow cores to just maximize the space that water is able to, flow through that filter media and return out to your pool. So reducing operating pressures. All three of those combined allow better water clarity and longer cleaning intervals. So that would be my 3 points that I talked to.
This question is for Jesse. You arrive to a cloudy water call and the clock is ticking. What's your step-by-step triage from quick diagnostics to the first 24-hour actions? And what do you document to keep the customer confident throughout the fix?
Yes, so that's a great question, and it happens from time to time. People will call off of the street that are not your normal clients that will need help, in a situation. So, and you have this situation come across as well with your own occasionally. But the first thing you need to evaluate when coming on a cloudy water call is going to be circulation. You need to figure out whether or not the pump is working. If the pump's not working, you're never going to have clear water. You need to figure out what the run times are. You need to make sure that you're running enough so that way you can get the turnovers needed to maintain good quality water, and so that the filter is able to do its job. Um, Next thing you need to evaluate is the filtration. Are the filters clogged? Are they dirty? Are they broken? Are they bypassed? I've seen that many times. Filters left in bypass, and if they're in bypass, they're not going to work. You need to kind of evaluate the filtration, meet the filter media, and make sure that there aren't any breaches. Make sure that they're not compromised, and that there's not like the wrong type of media put in. I've seen wrong size cartridges put in before, and that can cause a problem for sure. Letting everything back by that you're trying to get rid of. Finally, the last step is going to be sanitization. If you don't have good chlorine residual levels, if your salt system's not working, if your percentage is not set correctly, depending on your time of year and need for chlorine, that can definitely have an impact on water clarity. So what you do about it is you document whatever the issue is and communicate it with your client. You let them know right off the bat, like, hey, this is a problem and I see it, and I'm addressing it. You communicate the issues. You mark the condition as unsafe if it is. If you have like a zero chlorine level, you need to make sure that you tell them like, hey, it's not safe to swim. And if it's too cloudy to where you can't see the bottom or see the main drains, or there's any other concerns with visibility, then you need to tell them you can't swim in that. You need to make the adjustments as needed and then communicate the changes. And then finally, you need to follow up to make sure that the issue is actually resolved. And that's kind of a long-winded answer, but that's a really, really dense question that kind of all the different things that you need to think about when you're coming across cloudy water, because cloudy water is not just cloudy water. There's a bunch of things that you need to be considered and rectified for that.
Sounds good. This question is for Jan and perhaps Jesse, if he has some experience in this area. This question comes to us from Andy Piers. And his question is there a simple ORP pH sensing device available without dosing to monitor those levels similar to the Hayward HL Chem Sense Kit?
Yeah, so I mean, again, the value of a salt chlorine generator is that it can connect to an automation system, right? So that you can also have remote visibility into what's going on. And another value of that is that you can connect sensing technology like a pH ORP sensor, which would then monitor at all time your level of sanitization into the pool, and then automatically adjust the output of the salt chlorine generator. So we have a solution to that Pentair that's the IntelliChem. So it does that. You can connect a pH ORP probe to it. Again, you can connect your salt cell and it will automatically adjust the output. You could also connect an acid tank to be able to do your pH control. So we have that technology, and as I was also explaining in the video, I think the value for us at Pentair is to invest more and more into those smart systems so that we can really get a live view of what's happening into the pool, and then obviously, make the adjustment accordingly. The whole vision, the whole strategy for us in terms of where we can add value for our customers is to get into more predictive care, right? Trying to anticipate those changes, making those changes at the end of the day so that you can really drive optimized consumption of chemistry, or again, when it comes to the cell cell, being able to make adjustments so you're not, you can get really the maximum lifetime out of a cell cell. So we have solutions to that, like the IntelliChem, and there's going to be obviously more innovations, down the road to feed into this additional value that we can provide to the market.
This is a question for Jan. It comes to us from Frank Restivo, and I hope I'm reading this right. Does the IT or Plus 15 use the same power pack as the old IC15, or does it need replacing?
So the new IntelliChlor, so the LT15, LT25, the IntelliChlor Plus 30, Plus 40, and Plus 60. So we have 5 models. They are all compatible with the PC100, right? So you can use that in terms of power distribution. Now for the LT15, so the smaller model that typically is used for more like above ground pools or very small pools, that one you have the option to plug to an outlet. So we do have a power pack option for that model, but the power pack for the LT15 is specific for the new LT15. You cannot use the old power pack of the IntelliChlor 15 nor the power pack of the iChlor 15. It will not work with the LT15. You want to make sure that you're using the power pack that comes with the LT15 in the box.
Interesting. This comes to us from Brian White, and it's for Jan or Jesse. Is it normal for calcium pools to increase after having the pool, or calcium levels to increase after having the pool replastered? What should you do for a salt pool to lower the levels?
So, I mean, there's kind of two things there. Or you can go ahead if somebody else is going to type in.
No, go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, so there's kind of like two questions built in there. I mean, the first one is it normal to have calcium levels raise, when you have a new surface put in? And the answer is yes. I mean, it's going to be pretty typical. You're going to see calcium levels creep up. That's just because when the surface is curing, you're going to have that calcium that is very rich in the plaster that's freshly applied, kind of making its way out during the curing process. So having it raise is not out of the ordinary. It's actually very typical. How to remove it in a salt pool? It's the same as in a regular, chlorine pool. Is you have to do it through dilution. There's no chemical out there. There's no conventional filtration that you can do to remove calcium from the water.
Yeah, I think it's important again when you look at water chemistry to keep track of your LSI, right? Understanding exactly how well balanced your water chemistry is, and obviously calcium play a part in that. And you want to make sure that you keep that under control because that will ultimately affect also the performance of the salt cell and have an effect on scaling, for example.
Yeah, you just want to make sure you stay on top of it. I mean, it depends on what levels, what kind of creep we're talking about. If you're talking about like, say your fill water is 150 parts per million and, it's raising up to 250, it's like, okay, that's not that bad. It's still well within range. You're not going to have any issues with scale on the new surface, which is our primary concern during startup and curing. But if you're going from say 150 to, 600 or something like that, you're going to have a problem. If that's the case, you need to get in touch with a local rep for the surface and they can help you kind of troubleshoot your specific instance. You want to make sure too that your fill water is not contaminated with really high levels of calcium because if it is, then you're gonna be fighting an uphill battle from the beginning. A lot of areas like in Arizona, in other places like that, they have really high calcium levels to begin with in the source water, whether that be from a well or from municipal. It's just how it is over there. And sometimes in those applications, you have to look at other means like water trucks and whatever.
This one comes to us from Rachel Cunningham, and I guess I'm gonna throw this to Jan. Can you just go over how salt sanitization works?
Yeah, so again, the salt chlorine generator, what it does is essentially produces chlorine right onto your pool pad. So it will take the salt of the water, right, the NaCl, the sodium chloride, and then dissociate the NaCl into takes the Cl element, so the chlorine, and produce that through an electrolytic process. So that's why those cell cells have blades on the inside. That's typically made of titanium and ruthenium coating. So it's a very expensive element of the salt chlorine generator. But again, through the electrolytic process and the power that's injected into the cell takes the salt element of the pool to create chlorine. But it's kind of a closed loop system. So as soon as it gets into the water, that chlorine obviously acts as desanitization and then turns back into salt. So there's no consumption of the salt through that process. The only reason you will have to replenish the salt into your pool is through the backsplash or the water that could be through the backwash or evaporation, but it's not like this process actually consume the salt. It's kind of a closed system. So it's essentially a chlorine factory, into your plumbing, but being able to dispense it into your pool in a kind of a macro dosing way. So you're not getting the big swing of chlorine level into your pool that you would get when you typically put liquid chlorine or even using tabs. That's why also the feel of the water is a little bit different with that system. So I hope that helps clarify how the process works.
Definitely, definitely. And I should note that we're actually well over 30 questions right now, so we won't be able to get to all of these. We'll have time for a few more, but we will be able to answer your questions directly after the webinar. So within a day or two, we can answer those by email. So let's get to a few more. This question comes to us from Madeline Vega Gonzalez, and I think this would be a good one for Jesse. Her question is, with a salt water generator and rising pH, do you recommend a visit twice a week to maintain the pH, or can you use borates to help with pH buffer?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's kind of one I've come across a bunch of times. It it really depends. I mean, you can definitely maintain the water chemistry twice a week, just to kind of counteract the effects of salt chlorination. So we do that a lot on promotional pools, like when we're doing startups and when we're really worried about scale, and when we know that the pH tends to rise on its own, even more than normal and a lot of applications with dark surfaces where we're concerned about scale. We we want to try to promote twice a week service to maintain that chemical balance, so that way we don't have any issues with scaling. Um, because of that, you can do that. It's not required. It's always my recommendation to any new client. I always say it's almost impossible to maintain proper water chemistry and balance without, with once a week service without, kind of having to overdo it on the day that you're there. So twice a week service is a great way to go. Or some form of chemical automation is great. And I think there was another part of that. Oh yeah, there was borates. So borates, I've heard, I haven't ever used them because it's not very common here. Borates have been used to buffer pH, kind of like a secondary alkalinity, and I've heard it does well with keeping the pH creep from salt systems kind of in check. And but I don't have any firsthand experience, unfortunately. I want to. I've been trying to play around with it, but yeah, that's I've heard it works pretty well. I don't know if Jan has any input on that. I don't know what kind of impacts that might have with the salt systems, if there's any, or if there's any negative downsides that I'm just not aware of because I don't see it.
No, I mean, I think you've covered, all the elements here for pH control.
We have two really good questions here from Mohammed Anwar, and so I'll ask them both. I think this would make sense for Jan to go for this one. What is the best salt chlorine cell for my pool that works well with automation systems such as Pentair, IntelliCenter Lite, and why is it preferred over other models?
So again, if you're using our automation system, whether it's the legacy cell or the new cell, they all work the same way with the automation system. But what you would want to do is combine, the IntelliCenter with also the IntelliChem, so that you have automated monitoring of your pH and ORP and being able to regulate the cell accordingly. At the end of the day, the model of the salt chlorine generator that you would go with would be dependent on the size of your pool. We have 5 different options of the salt chlorine generator. So again, depending on the size of the pool, the usage, the better load, depending on which part of the country you're in, with the UV exposure, all those elements, you have to be taken into consideration to make sure that you right size, the model to the pool, and make sure that you have the chlorine production, the maximum output of the chlorine production of each unit, to be able to, satisfy the need of the pool. Then at the end of the day, the automation, whether it's IntelliCenter Lite, it really depends also on how many more pieces of equipment you want to control on your pool pad. But having the IntelliChem, being able to, again, have that continuous monitoring of pH and ORP, and being able to have the system to automatically adjust the output, it would be the way, to do it with our automation systems.
Yeah, and I'd love
Okay,
to hear that
I'm watching
possible.
the question meter rise, and again, we'll get to these individually. We just have time for one more today. And this one comes from Cody Graham, and probably Jan or Jesse. But Cody asks, I'm adding 4 gallons of liquid chlorine weekly, but the level disappears the next day. What can I do to hold it without tabs due to high CYA or shock due to buildup of calcium at the water line?
Well, of course,
Well,
you can
I
test
mean,
the
again,
salt systems,
if
right?
the levels of CYA are especially high in the pool, yes, that will have an effect on the efficiency of the chlorine, and that's probably what's happening. So, the first thing is to really understand the chemistry makeup of the pool, and especially look at the CYA level, because whether it's liquid chlorine tab or salt chlorine generator, that will have an effect on the availability of free chlorine, for sure. I don't know if Jesse, you want to also
Yeah.
throw your perspective on this?
Yeah, so typically, I mean, it depends on the context, right? He didn't give us any information as far as like what the chemical readings were, but if the issue is not necessarily that you have really high stabilizer levels, you want to make sure that you have adequate stabilizer levels because liquid chlorine in and of itself is an unstabilized product, so there's nothing there to keep it in the water after it's added in if you don't have a good amount of stabilizer in there. And two, generally speaking, you want a slow release form of chlorine if possible. I mean, if you just pour a bunch of bleach in, it's gonna break down over time. You're gonna have a really high peak, and then it's gonna kind of go down over time. And if you're not there frequently, you're only there once a week, it's gonna go down. But I would say because you're using 4 gallons a week and you're sounds like you're testing frequently and you're still not getting a residual, I would say check your stabilizer first, make sure it's not too high, not too low, and possibly visit other um, options for chlorine injection, not injection, but introduction into the water. Salt system might be the best for you, maintaining that level all the time.
And check the pH as well, right? Making sure you maintain it between 7.4, 7.6 for,
Yeah.
again, efficiency on the chlorine.
Yeah, you need to
Yeah.
make sure everything's in balance because if it's not, I mean, you're gonna be scratching your head all the time trying to figure it out if everything's not where it should be.
Excellent. Well, I believe that closes out our time for today. Um, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this webinar. If you could please take our poll at this time, it'll help us improve future information for customers like you. Also, again, I want to stress that we can get back to the plethora of questions that we did not get to during the webinar. We just had too many questions, a very interesting topic. And but for more resources, please visit our website, pentair.com, or reach out to your local Pentair dealer. Thanks for joining us, and here's to cleaner, clearer water all season long.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys.